No, there it is. Go live. We are live. My hat keeps getting in the way of the camera here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's alright.
That's all right. Okie dokie. What are we talking about? Why are we talking about it?
Fans, because that was
Fans.
today.
We're talking about the fans today. All about the fans.
That was the first part I removed from my ANET.
Was the fans?
The hot end fan. Because you can't see yourself threading the filaments.
Yeah.
And then I just never put it back on. I've never had a problem. I don't think I would do that to many other machines. So. That ANET's just, it's like a fucking tinker toy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's it's really a lot more like a tinker toy than anything. It really is.
Well, hello to all who are joining us today on Facebook and YouTube. I cannot see your chat today. Why can't I see your chat? Because I got some other stuff up on my screen. But today we're talking about fans. All the fans that we put into our 3D printers. That's what we're going to tackle today. So I'm going to take your questions on fans today.
Graham's looking to add a cooling fan to his Tronxy one.
Okay.
Tronxy, yeah.
I'm going to give you a recommendation for a fan today, Graham. I'm not sure what kind of mount you need, but we'll figure that out. Everybody can hear me? Can you hear the printer in the background? Just give a thumbs up if you can hear the finger, or if you can hear the finger in the background. If you can hear the printer in the background.
If you can hear Richard fingering in the background. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
This came, yes, this is a family show. This came off the Wanhao Duplicator 3, i3 this morning. I started this on Friday. This is the Lino from, what is his name?
The Thundercats?
Yeah.
Lino from, what's his name?
No, the designer.
Oh, shoot, he's new on the scene.
Yes.
Here. Damn it.
Yes, but we started printing Lino. We're going to talk.
That I don't know that.
We're going to talk a little bit about Lino 2 today. But mainly what we're talking about, of course, is fans. That's our main subject today, is fans. The fans. It's me, Mario. It's me. Hey, did you hear that they're going to have to change Mario's ethnicity?
What?
Yeah, there's a big thing. I read it on the weekend. Maybe it's fake news. I don't know, but some people are up in arms about Mario's ethnicity. He does not bring a good light to Italians. Apparently, he's highly racist to Italians. I don't see that, but.
I'm having a hard time with it myself, actually.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
actually
having
kind of a positive role model. How
I know he's a positive role model. Hey, he's a plumber. He's a race car driver. He's an adventurer. He's all kinds of stuff.
He's athletic.
He's athletic. Well, he doesn't show plumber's crack.
You punch rocks and see if you can get money out of it.
That's true.
That. He's athletic.
He beats up gorillas and rescues princesses. He's a positive role model.
He's a sportsman. I don't see Donkey Kong's head on his wall, so it's not like he's a really bad guy or nothing.
Another thing we're going to talk about on Friday is safety.
Safety.
Safety. On Friday, it's a big safety day.
Like don't touch a 240-degree hot end with your
that,
fingers?
Like I've done many, many times. Yes, that'll be one of them. But we're going to be talking about scraper safety too.
Hi, Emilio.
Emilio Vitt. That's who designed it. That guy.
That the one? Is that
right
the fella?
there. That guy right there.
Shout out to Emilio.
Shout out to Emilio today. Yep. Let me go back to that camera. Nope. Back to that camera, I said. See, you turned out pretty good, Emilio.
Yeah, nice job, man. Good model.
I'm printing his legs and his arms right now. I like the size. The scale is great. It's about the scale I like.
It's the hair.
Yeah, that hair's nice too.
Yeah.
I might have to put this on a Fabio background.
A Fabio?
Yeah, because, you know, Fabio had those long...
Oh, shit. Like on a beach.
Yeah. Put him on a beach.
With an umbrella and a cerveza on the
Instead of putting the Sword of Omens in his hand, I'll put a, you know, a drink in his
a
hand.
Corona. Oh, that's a great. For all you 3D designers out there, design us some superheroes in weird poses, like a superhero with a Coca-Cola, or a superhero eating an ice cream.
You know what I did one year at Comic-Con, or Calgary Comic Expo? I actually had the artists that were there draw Wolverine playing hockey.
Yeah, right? Wolverine playing, like the whole X-Men, like the old X-Men and the new X-Men playing hockey together. You know,
That'd be cool.
on opposite teams. Or, you know, like where, if we're Injustice, you know, the two sides, you know, Marvel and...
Are there any questions yet today?
Sharma.
I'm just asking you about questions.
Hi, Don. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Geraldine.
Don, Morgan, Geraldine, hello.
Jason Daly.
Jason Daly.
We like saying that. Jason Daly.
That's a cool name, man. That's
Hi,
a really
Fred.
cool name. I have been rushing around like a chicken with my head cut off today, ladies and gentlemen.
Richard's a little stressed.
I'm very stressed. I've avoided the migraine today because there's a Chinook that is blowing in really fast, but it's blowing out just as fast. We're going to +5 today here in Calgary. That's Celsius for you American people.
Mark's here. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I'm trying not to yell over Richard while he's talking, so if I miss saying hi to you, you're just going to have to deal with it.
Thanks.
I don't want to interrupt him. He's got the important stuff to say. I'm just making jokes.
You're making yolks.
I'm making jokes. I'm like this sidekick now. I've grown from assistant producer to sidekick. Yes,
I'll kick you, all right.
Before we start, what do you use to lubricate slider bars on the i3 Plus and D6?
What do I use? What do I lose?
What do you use to lube? What's your lube?
To lube my slider bars, I use lithium grease. You can find it on the Spool 3D website under lithium grease. It's $4.50 Canadian. Man, I wish I got commission off of that stuff.
No kidding, eh? Hi, Jerry. Hi, William.
Jerry Knapp, I'm assuming?
Jerry Knapp, yeah.
Hello, Jerry Knapp. Jerry, you have to start posting over on the first layer as well as not just your own stuff.
Yeah, Jerry, I want to see your stuff.
People want to see what you're posting.
White
You
lithium.
Sometimes you miss it. I get it. I know.
Is there a difference between colors of lithium grease? Is it always just white?
It should be white.
That's
yeah.
an interesting question. He goes white lithium, I assume. That's
White lithium. Yeah.
I
White
never would
lithium
have asked
grease.
that question without seeing that before. So is there a different color? Like, do you get silver or any kind of different types of lithium grease?
I don't know.
Good question.
That's a good question. I'll
Let us
have to
know when
look
you
into
find
that.
out, Morgan.
Yeah, if you find out before me, let me know.
I'm going to look it up right now. 1 minute, 20 seconds.
1 minute and 20 seconds. So we're talking today why you want to get rid of the fans that came with your printer. People are probably just freaking out right now. What do you mean?
What, there's something wrong with my fan? No, there's nothing wrong with your fan. Unless, of course, there's something wrong with your fan.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with your fan unless there's something wrong with your fan. And you'll know that there's something wrong with your fan when it's really freaking loud or it just stops working.
I love researching things on the show. It's fun.
Common grease types and characteristics.
Oh, hell yeah, there we go. Aluminum complex, bentone clay grease, calcium grease, lithium complex grease, polyuric grease.
Lithium grease is
sodium
the only one
grease,
you
grease
need.
compatibility.
We got less than 30
Look
seconds.
at all that info.
So he's going to relay your questions to me as we talk about fans today. And it's an important issue.
Make sure you take breaks to ask me now and again, too. Just
Yeah, I will.
because I probably do that anyways.
And we're just about ready.
Wait, where's the...
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Go.
Hold on. Took a few seconds for it to go.
Hey, welcome to the Monday. It's not Friday, it's Monday. The Monday edition of Coffee with Rich. This is our first layer live stream. And my name is Richard Cleveland. I'm your host here 3 times a week on our Monday and Friday live streams and our Wednesday pre-recorded show. Today we're talking all about fans, the fans in your 3D printers, and the difference between the fan that comes with your 3D printer and what you might consider upgrading to. And we're going to get right into that. But first and foremost, we've got some business to do. And if you haven't yet subscribed to us, please subscribe. There'll be a red little button underneath this video on YouTube. And if it is red, click that button, turn it white, and also hit the bell notification right beside it so that you get notified every time that we do a brand new episode here on the First Layer, and also when we do our live streams. You get pre-notified. What else do I want to talk about really quickly? I'm gonna start by saying the fans on my desk came from spool3d.ca. So print it right. Print it with spool3d.ca. They've got everything from printers to filaments to parts that you need to upgrade your printer, or maybe you just want to build a printer, and they've got all the parts there. So that's spool3d.ca. Print it right. Print it with spool3d. Alrighty, so let's dive in first and foremost. Right now we are going to get into the fans on my desk, and I'm going to show you the typical type of fans that you get with your printer. You should have a 30mm fan, which is this little guy, a 40mm fan, which would normally be your part cooling fan, or you'll have one of these, which is a radial fan. And the fans that typically come in our printers are either 12 or 24 volt. They're not any different than that, but the ones that we typically get with printers are what are called sleeve bearing fans. And sleeve bearing fans, there's a couple of drawbacks to sleeve bearing fans. And first of all is the fan life. And you're going to get a lot shorter fan life over a sleeve bearing fan. You're also going to get just regular horizontal mounting options. They're going to be a little noisier. The lubricant is more evaporative, which means it evaporates, and they cost less. So that's why they go into 90% of 3D printers that are on the market. And if your fan does have sleeve bearing fans, and it should say on it whether it is a sleeve bearing fan or not, if it has no writing on it as to indicate whether it's a sleeve bearing fan, chances are it is a sleeve bearing fan. So it's going to be loud when you start up your printer. You'll also find them in the power supplies as well. So typically all fans will have a little 2-prong connector, and they'll come with this little white connector which connects to the board. Sometimes the fan that you have on your 3D printer will have a little black connector on it. Why am I hearing myself?
You're not.
You'll have a little black connector, and that's called the DuPont connector. But sleeve bearing fans we don't really want to use because, again, they don't last very long. They're noisy, and they're cheap is really what they are. So what we want is bearing fans, ball bearing fans. And in front of me are the 3 most common sizes of ball bearing fans: a 30mm, a 40mm, and a 50mm centrifugal fan.
What are those
or centrifugal
connectors
fan.
called? The white connectors on the end of there? What are they called?
These are not DuPont connectors. These are PC connectors. Somebody just asked what they were. So they are PC connectors. These you'll find on 90% of the fans that are sold today. Even in your PC, you'll find connectors that are very much like this on some of the smaller fans. Now, the fans that we have here are Chinese fans. So they're not a high-end fan. If you're looking for a high-end fan, the fan that I recommend is a Noctua fan. A Noctua fan is my fan of choice when it comes to PCs as well, because they are quiet. They're designed to be quiet, so you don't get a lot of noise off of them. So you can certainly replace all the fans in your 3D printer with Noctua fans, but that gets a little expensive. By using fans that are just ball bearing fans, they will last longer, so they are quieter at higher speeds. They are a little bit more expensive, and the lubricant doesn't evaporate as fast, so they will last you a lot longer. So if you're looking at upgrading the fans in your printer, or a fan that has pretty much died out, I would replace it with this. One thing that you want to watch though is the connector on the end. If you open up your 3D printer and this is not the connector you have, you're going to have to change it to a DuPont connector or whatever type of connector is on there. And most times you can find them on electronic warehouse websites. I believe Spool 3D also has them. So that's one way to go. But I definitely recommend ball bearing fans. I'll tell you, my Wanhao D6 came with these crappy sleeve fans. And one day I came in, I turned on my Wanhao D6. It's a $1,000 machine. I turned it on, and man, was it noisy. It was so noisy, in fact, that I couldn't stand it. So, I mean, I can put up with a lot of noise. I worked in the rock and roll industry for many years. But it was just making such a high whining noise that I went in and I found the issue was the fan. And it was a 40 mil fan, just like this. So I changed it out to a ball bearing fan. As soon as I changed it out, man, that thing is so much more quiet. Now, you can also change the fans in your power supply, but be aware that if you decide to change the fans in your power supply, that once you break that little seal on it, and I think I have a power supply here that I can show real quick. I do have one. It's a bigger fan, mind you. So this is a typical power supply. And what I'm referring to, I'll just go back to this overhead camera, is once you break this seal right here, you lose all warranty on your power supply. This fan here is about an 80 mil, a 60 to an 80 mil fan. I believe it's a 60 mil fan that's in there. But this fan that's in here is also a sleeve bearing fan. So that's why when your power supply kicks in, when you're doing a lot of printing, it makes a lot of noise. But you can certainly change that. And how you change it is just take out the 4 screws. You're going to have to cut that seal, sorry to say. But the connector on it is the exact same connector that you'll find on most fans that you can get out there. And I would replace this with a Noctua fan as well. Now, let's talk about direction for a second. Most of these fans don't indicate on the sides what direction they flow, the airflow is. So people will install these backwards, which is a real problem. One way that you can tell which way the airflow goes is by where this sticker is located. The manufacturer sticker is usually located on the exhaust portion of the printer. So what's happening is that air is moving through this way, pulling cool air or pulling that hot air away from your warm parts. Now, when you're using this as a part cooling fan, you want to take this end and put it down into whatever type of fan shroud that you're using, and that will force the air in to the nozzle and then down to cool your nozzle as it's printing PLA. You don't want to use a part cooling fan when you're printing with ABS or PETG, but you certainly want to use a part cooling fan when you're printing with PLA. Now, this little 30 mil fan is a typical size that you're going to find on any E3D hot end. They go on the little clip-on shroud, and there's usually 2 screws that go in, and they'll just clip right to that plastic piece, or they'll screw right to that plastic piece. But this is designed to cool that heat sink on your on your hot end. And the reason you want that cooling on the heat sink is because then you won't get what's called heat creep, where the heat starts to go up And I know I have one here on my desk somewhere. I thought I had one on my desk. I might have one. Hang on. We do have one around here somewhere. Can I find it at the moment? Probably not. No, I can't. Okay, it's somewhere, but we'll use this block as an example. I have a block on my desk here that I just saw. Here it is. Okay, so what heat creep is when the heat from the block is creeping up the throat and into that heat sink that is on the top of your extruder assembly or your hot end assembly. So what you want to avoid is by having a part or a heat sink fan there, what will happen is it will blow cool air. Let's get it right way around. It'll blow cool air onto that heat sink and keep that zone as cool as it should be so that all of our heat is concentrated down here in the block. And that's why we use a heat fan. Now, here we go. I've got an old one here, so I can just kind of screw this in here. So when, again, I just want to reiterate this. When you are working with the heat sink on top, you want to have that fan blowing in so you don't get heat creep up this tube and ruin your print or clog your nozzle. Okay, that's what those are for. So let me just go back and find out if you guys have any questions about that.
There's not too many questions. There's some comments though.
Okay.
Jerry randomly ordered a hot end for CR10 and it's loud as hell.
And it's loud as hell?
Yeah, he just randomly ordered a hot end fan. So.
Yeah, that means that you probably got a sleeve bearing fan. And if you've got a sleeve bearing fan, what I'm going to recommend is that you send it back and you order a ball bearing fan.
So we want to order a ball bearing fan.
A ball bearing fan, yeah.
Jerry says you look at the blade angle to be sure.
Typically you can, but the easiest way is where that sticker is, usually is the direction in which the air is blowing through. That's the easiest way to tell. Any other comments?
No. We're all listening raptly.
Okay, so that pretty much talks about fans. If you've got sleeve bearing fans, move to ball bearing fans. That's my biggest recommendation for you, whether it be on your power supply, your part cooling fans, either one of those, or your hot end heat break cooling fan. Make sure, move everything over to ball bearing. It's going to last you a lot longer, and it's going to save your sanity in the end in terms of noise.
Here's an interesting comment.
Sure.
One, by Jerry here. He says he kept having clogs.
Right.
So after a few days, he realized it wasn't spinning fast enough on the hot end, so the fan wasn't cooling enough, or something was going on with the fan that was giving him clogs. That's interesting.
That is it. If you're getting clogs, that means you're getting heat creep, which means that the fan is not doing its job. You will know when these fans stop because what they will do is they'll try and get enough inertia to move, and they don't. Really quickly, I want to talk about our subscribers. Again, we had another huge jump over the weekend, which you guys are freaking amazing. Our last count on Friday, I think, was 280. 281, 282, somewhere in there, 279. We have jumped officially to 294 as of this morning. And that's great because in the contest that we are doing right now, it is for our 500 subscriber contest. And that means the winner will receive this lovely Targaryen female, I don't know what her name is. I can't pronounce it. I've never watched the show, so I don't know. We'll be giving you this as well as the full set of George R. Martin books. And this is a Song of Ice and Fire. So it has everything that you could possibly want there. And then it's a soft cover book set. We're going to give you a bust that I'm going to print out for you, and another $50 gift certificate from Spool 3D. So we've got so when we hit that 500, that is, we'll give that away. We've got a contest going for our Patreons right now. If you'd like to support us, we only have 3 levels of Patreon up there. And what Patreon does for us, it allows me to offset the costs of some of the things that we do, or some of the things that we have to buy for the show. Not everything is free to me. So if you are in at that $10 level, which is the top level right now, anybody in that level will be entered into a contest to receive a prize at the end of the month, at the end of February, because we started it so late in January. We're going to do it in February. And what you're going to receive is a roll of PLA from Mech Solutions. That's the PLA that I reviewed. You're going to receive a roll of black and a whole set of Mark 8 nozzles from 0.0 or 0.2 all the way up to 0.8. So that's going out to one of our Patreons. And if you're so inclined to help us out with Patreon, you can go and to the lower third that's coming up right away. There we go. It's patreon.com/thefirstlayer. And if you want to help us out, that would be great. We really appreciate your help. I am working on t-shirts right now. I know people are chomping at the bit. A couple of people have asked me about t-shirts. They want t-shirts. A young lady was in our chat on Friday, and I didn't get her information. Cheryl, I believe is her first name, and I haven't been able to find her. But we are going to be working with a company that most YouTubers are working with right now, to get some t-shirts done. And I think the first one we're going to do is our First Layer logo, and then we'll start into doing some funny things. If you guys want to get in on t-shirts, I'll let you know about that. Any comments?
Michael Howland, he's a new member. Most of my stock heatsink fans, especially the clone hot ends, sound like they're dying when first powered on. They drive him crazy, but they're not dead yet, so he's running them as long as his sanity will hold out. They finally die, whichever comes first.
Again, Michael, that is because you are running sleeved bearing fans.
They're cheap to replace, too.
They are very cheap to replace, but the problem, I don't want to replace a fan 50 times. I want to replace a fan once. And that's why on my printers, I moved all to ball bearing fans, because they just simply last longer and they are much quieter than a sleeve bearing fan. Chances are you've got sleeve bearing fans on that printer. There's a really good chance of that. Any other questions? Nothing else? So we're doing good. We had a nice 20-minute show today.
Morgan thinks Jerry's fans are going to quit mid-print.
That's a good possibility. Now, if you're looking to get in touch with me, there is a couple of other lower thirds there I want you to bring up. We have a discount code going on right now. First and foremost, let's talk about that. This discount code is for inno3d.co.uk. It is at checkout. Put in the first layer, capital F, capital L, or first layer, pardon me, capital F, capital L. And if you're looking at getting one of their models, just go over and check out inno3d.co.uk, and that is William. He's one of our people there. And if you've got any questions, you can send them to me. Go to the questions one again. There you go.
The inno one was.
That's the discount code one. If you need to send me questions, you can send them to richard@thefirstlayer.com. Questions, suggestions about what you'd like to see on the show. I know I've got a poll up right now on Facebook, and it looks like the next big thing you guys want to see me do is gadgets. So I'm working now to build a collection of gadgets, and we're going to start printing them. I'm going to start doing some time lapses as well, so you guys will be able to see some time lapses of stuff that I am printing. Finally, I think that's about what we thank Spool. We thank all of you guys out there. Malix3 Designs, inno3d.co.uk. We want to thank Emilio Vitz for his hard work, And there is a whole host of other artists that are starting to get in touch with me that would like me to talk about their models on the show. And eventually we will. We'll try and get to as many as we can. We are going to be digging heavily into Thingiverse for our gadgets, which is going to be coming up very soon. On Friday, what did I say we were talking about again on Friday? I forgot already. We'll figure it out.
You're not in order up here, are you?
No, I'm not in order up there. So this Wednesday, we're going to get into starting to do some of the upgrades on my personal printer, which is sitting down on the floor. And we are also going to show you off some stuff like this. Things that you can make. This is a useful gadget. This is called a 1-2-3 block. You can buy these or you can print them. These are printed in ABS. And I printed these off specifically because we're going to talk about tramming coming up in the next couple of weeks. Bed tramming and bed leveling. And then finally, Emilio Vitt did a great job on the Lion-O. I know it's white. This is a free model to everybody in the community. So go and check out Emilio Vitt's work. I believe we put in a link to his stuff on Friday. And it's in, I believe it's also in the show notes as well. We're going to finish up Lion-O this week. We're going to put his legs on and his arms on, and then we'll do the Sword of Omens. But until next week, unless we got any real quick questions or comments I have to answer?
Joshua's, oh no, wait, who was that? Oh yeah, so suddenly the show's going to end and everybody's got their questions now.
Yep.
Sorry, Cody Spring is his first helmet. Would you recommend PLA or ABS for helmets?
I would recommend ABS, and I'll tell you why. Let's just pull out this guy again today. This mask was done in PLA. It is very rigid. It's not going to break on you. It's fairly thick. If I go to the top here, you can actually see how thick that is. Grab my micrometer here, and we'll open that up. And that's 7.3 millimeters thick, give or take. So it's fairly thick. And that's, you know, if you're doing a helmet, I'm actually getting ready to do Dr. Fate's helmet on the CR10 out on the showroom floor. That's going to take a few days to print, but I am printing that one all in one go, and I'm printing it all out of PLA. And this was printed in the white PLA from mechsolutions.com. And this is the CC Tree PLA that they sell, and it's the same PLA that comes with your CR10 3D printer. Any more questions?
How does everyone store their filament for store or use?
How does everyone store their filament? I think I went through this a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. There is a show on it.
But I am going to quickly talk about it once again. Get yourself a Ziploc bag. The little desiccant pack that came in with your filament, put that desiccant pack, and let me see if I've got a desiccant pack back here. I thought I did.
That's what I used to do too, just put a bag with a...
Yeah, just put that little yummy thing that's not candy and it says do not eat on it. Put it in the bag with your filament, zip it up, and that's how you should store your filament. Somebody asked me if I would, and I can't remember who it was, but I was asked over the weekend if I would consider doing basically a dehumidifier kind of box or a storage box for filament, and I will do that. I think I'll be doing that on Wednesday's show. So stick around for that. It's very easy to make one. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but this is the easiest way. Desiccant pack and your Ziploc bag. Just make sure your Ziploc bag doesn't have any holes in it. Any more questions?
No.
No more questions? Well, there you go. We have been at it for about a half an hour today, and that's about as long as I really like to go. I want to thank you guys for joining me today on the First Layer Coffee with Rich. We're going to be back on Wednesday with more exciting stuff, and I'll let you know what that's going to be. And then we'll be back live again on Friday at 1:30 Mountain Standard Time in the afternoon. So until then, you guys have a great week and keep printing.
Yeah, streaming well.